welcome back to The Perspective on Berita Satu. I'm Blaisop with Notowidigdo from Amrop, the Management Consulting Global Executive Network.
Yes.
A global mindset is something we've mentioned. What do you mean when you say a global mindset, especially in the context of this country, Indonesia?
Well, a global mindset, can be taken from, a number of perspectives. One is in terms of the psychological perspective, in the sense of how do you change your mindset in a way that goes beyond your cultural parameters. And it's not that you have to change, for example, if you're going to be working with an American, you suddenly have to become an American, but it's that you have to be aware and be sensitive to what values are important to him and how he communicates to you, and then provide a bridging in that sense, so that you can synergize with that. Not necessarily to change, but in order to work together. And it's really trying to find the best practice at the end of the day. And I find that now it's critical to have this kind of global mindset, because at the end of the day, we're just a click away, from wherever we want to. From this morning, I got what is it now? An email, from Brussels, from the headquarters of
EU?
No. The headquarters of Amrop actually is in Brussels, and then she alerted me. Brigitte Arho, who's the COO of Amrop Worldwide, alerted me to, hey, Pri, listen, on the 15th of September, there's going to be an Asia Pacific Forum of the Association of Executive Search Consultants, and can you attend? And so I said, okay, fine. And they said, if you want to attend, please contact Greg Rooney, who is an American based in Hong Kong. And so I picked up the telephone, called him, and then we proceeded to do that. And this is just to show you that the accessibility to any country is just there. But how can you take advantage of, how can you maximize that?
Well, even you sort of have to now, because everything's so connected that you've got to be adaptable, otherwise you'll just be overtaken.
Well, you definitely have a global mindset. The fact that you even stated that, Blaise, because some people say, no, I'm going to do it my way. I have a German, the chairman of Amrop is German. And he is, very precise. So when I talk with him, I have to adjust myself. In banking, we have what's called KYC, know your customer. So assess the person you're talking to, and then try to adjust accordingly. And so one of the things about a global mindset is also about something you've heard over the years, is seek to understand first, and then seek to be understood. And we forget that. Sometimes because we're focusing so much on closing the transaction, closing the deal, we become very transactional, and we're driven to do that. Whereas in a global mindset, you have to be a little bit more relationship based, and look at the longer term, and maybe have the timeline becomes more extended, or you have to plan that into have more contingency in order to manage expectations appropriately.
Well, if everyone's looking to close a deal, the question is the journey. If you're with people that have exactly the same background, then all you have to think about is closing it.
Exactly.
But if you're not, that's no longer the priority.
Exactly. I had the opportunity to give this talk, and it was interesting. It was a training of Amrop in Istanbul. And I happened to be on vacation in Sydney, but they pressed me. They persuaded me to do it, and they said, "We'll just do it online." So that was an interesting experience there. But what was interesting was we had 17 different nationalities, and I was giving a talk on cross-cultural communication. And at that point, which is part of global mindset, at that point we were talking about the importance of relationships versus transaction. And the Scandinavians, interestingly enough, in the group were pure. On a scale of 1 to 10, we're 1. and the Asians, on the other hand, was 9 or 10 even, you know, and you can imagine the arguments or the debate. But then at the end, I had to, my job as a facilitator say, well, where can we find the bridge?
Is this sort of a scale of directness?
That's right. A scale of, I mean, that's an example of you know,
Where's the Middle Eastern cultures?
Well, the Middle Eastern culture is a little bit in the middle, which is interesting, you know, because there's a strong sense of compliant attitude, but yet there's also that subscribing to the family, to the respect, and so forth that you see in Eastern cultures. So it's very interesting, you know, in that regard. So if you can keep that in mind, and you have a number of domains, cross-cultural communication, in fact, is a critical part of global mindset. But it's because it's not just having it, but how do you implement that? How do you apply that, you know, in order to affect that international business transaction.
Let's hold there. Cross-cultural communication. We'll keep talking about this. We're not done yet. Stay with us on The Perspective. We'll be back in just a moment. We'll drill down a bit further. Stay tuned.